Hey everyone, so it's time for another new segment that I'm going to be adding to this channel, and as you can tell by the title, it is gaming discussions. Some of you guys might already know this about me, but I love video games probably just as much, if not more, than I love films and music, which I talk about a lot on this channel. So I figured, hey, if I already talk about those things, why not just add gaming to the mix? So I'm going to start doing some gaming discussions. I'll try to talk about certain different gaming live streams and conferences and E3s and things like that, and also I will take requests. You guys can leave requests in the comment section for things that you want me to talk about in the gaming industry, different gaming current events, if you will. And while I'm not sure if these kind of videos will come as frequently as album reviews do, it's just another thing to spice the channel up a bit. You know, this is called Matt's Random Journeys, so hooray for some randomness. Either way, before we even start, I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I know this is an Xbox video and I'm wearing a PlayStation shirt. The idea for this segment came to me after I put the shirt on. I wasn't thinking about it when I put the PlayStation shirt on. This isn't gonna be a biased take on the Xbox showcase. It's gonna be objective. I just happen to be wearing a PlayStation shirt. Sorry about that. But yes, as I just said, we will be talking today about the Xbox Game Showcase. Just as a refresher, in case you guys happen to miss out on this or you just didn't know, recently Microsoft decided that they were going to do a showcase of games that will be coming to their upcoming Xbox Series X console, just as PlayStation did recently with their PlayStation 5 reveal event. And admittedly, with this event, a lot was kind of riding on it, I would say, simply because PlayStation, when they had the reveal event for the PlayStation 5, I would say they did a very good job with it and they revealed a lot of pretty compelling games that made the system look like a worthwhile buy. So the pressure was back on Microsoft because a couple months back they released a first look at Xbox Series X gameplay focused on third-party games, but it wasn't received all that well and a lot of people were starting to wonder what was the first-party lineup going to look like. So with a few months to regroup from that iffy showcase of third-party games, did Xbox hit harder this time? Honestly, not quite. I've got to say, I didn't have the highest of expectations for this showcase as it is, just because Microsoft's first-party lineup to me isn't as strong as PlayStation or Nintendo. But for the most part, I was left underwhelmed by much of this showcase for various reasons that we will get into in this discussion. One of the prime reasons I was so underwhelmed is because so much of what was shown during this showcase played into one of my biggest problems with modern-day gaming conferences and reveals: way too much pre-rendered CGI and not nearly enough gameplay. I felt like I was watching just a sequence of film trailers with how much pre-rendered CGI there was. And for an event that was supposed to be selling me on the Xbox Series X, it seems, I don't exactly think that this showcase did that. Just to get into what was shown, because I have the entire lineup in my notes right here. The show started off with Halo Infinite, of course. That's something a lot of us were quite looking forward to because we hadn't seen any official gameplay for it. And to me, it looks like it'll be pretty fun. I've enjoyed the Halo series outside of Halo 5. I did notice that a lot of people did complain about the visuals, and I will say they didn't exactly look stellar to me. Not that I really play a lot of games for the visuals, but I did see what the problems were. Also, the fact that this was supposedly a Series X showcase made the recent news that the demo was actually running on a PC even more strange. Also, while watching the gameplay, even though I did like what I was seeing, I couldn't help but wonder if this game was just going to be a full remake of the original Halo. I know they've talked about it being a soft reboot in terms of gameplay, but just looking at the color palettes, the level design, everything around it, it genuinely looked like a full-blown remake to me. Regardless though, it looks like it'll be fun. It looks like Halo. If you like Halo, you'll probably enjoy this. If you don't, this probably won't convert you. Hopefully it'll be an improvement on the shit show that was Halo 5. Personally, I'll probably just grab it and play it on the Xbox One. I was going to get a Series X for it, but it just doesn't seem worth it at the moment. After that, they showed State of Decay 3. I never really played the first two. The trailer was tensing, but again, it would have been nice to have some gameplay to judge off of. Also, I want to talk about something with State of Decay 3 for a second. Not specifically the game itself, but something that popped up during this moment of the showcase that really got my mind churning a bit. Recently, Xbox has been kind of hyping that they won't be doing a lot of Series X exclusives, and that they'll be releasing games for the entirety of the Xbox family, including the Xbox One. But on the State of Decay 3 title card that you can see right here, there's nothing about the Xbox One, and it seems that it will be only on the Series X. In theory, that's not a bad thing. I'm glad there are some exclusives because I had been worried there wouldn't be, and I would like for there to be a reason to get a Series X instead of just keeping the Xbox One. But Microsoft has mentioned before that Series X exclusives kind of run counter to what they do, and I've heard statements where they've said that they wouldn't be releasing Xbox Series X exclusives for the next few years. So either Xbox is just straight up lying to customers like they did with Xbox One backwards compatibility, or these exclusives that they're showing off are not going to be ready for several years. Either way, I'm just kind of getting mixed signals, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. But moving on though, the next thing they showed was Forza Motorsport for the Xbox Series X, which once again, it's another fancy CGI trailer that did nothing for me. And honestly, Forza just seems like one of those franchises where what you see is what you get. So I wouldn't say I was putting a whole lot of stock into the game in the first place. Then we got to look at Everwild, next game from Rare. I love the art style. This could very well be the game that Rare needs to reestablish themselves as a top shelf developer. And given that it seems to be a Series X exclusive, it could be the kind of game to sell me on it. But again, I just wish I had some gameplay to help determine if it was really worth it. Then we had Tell Me Why, the next game from Don't Nod Entertainment, the creators of Life is Strange. This looks like it'll be a very emotional adventure, and I did read that one of the main characters in the game is a trans character, and that Don't Nod worked with GLAAD to make the trans rep authentic, which I definitely give some high props on. But again, I don't know what the game is going to play like, so it's hard for me to make a full judgment on it. Then they talked about Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which wasn't a new announcement, but Moon Studios just confirmed that the game is going to have an updated version for the Xbox Series X that plays at 4K and 120 frames per second, which regardless of what platform you get it on, I just have to say that having beaten Ori and the Will of the Wisps recently, I highly recommend it. I thought it was masterful. It is one of my favorite games this year. Please play it if you haven't already. Then we got to look at the Outer Worlds Peril on Gorgon, the new expansion to the Outer Worlds that's coming out in September. Personally, I played some of the Outer Worlds and just couldn't get into it, but even though the game wasn't for me, I know a lot of people do enjoy it, so I'm sure this expansion will be exactly what you're looking for. Then Obsidian got into their next game, Grounded, which I love the satirical humor in the trailer, like that joke about how if you're waiting for the biggest game of the year, just wait for Cyberpunk 2077. I think the game looks goofy and fun. I don't know how much of the trailer was gameplay, but it looks like something I might want to try out, though again, it's an Xbox One game, so it's not really selling me on the new platform. And Obsidian wasn't done. They've been pretty busy, it seems, because they gave us a look at their next big Obsidian RPG, Avowed. Aesthetically, I love what it's going for. It just looks magical, but once again, no gameplay. The game could very easily be another winner for Obsidian and a huge system seller for the Series X, given that it seems to be exclusive to that, but I just want to see some gameplay first. Then we got into As Dusk Falls, new game from new developer Interior Night. I genuinely don't know what's going on here. Forget pre-rendered CGI, I felt like I was watching a slideshow when this came up on screen. I wasn't sure if that was just the aesthetic choice for the trailer, or if that's going to be the aesthetic choice for the game itself. If it's the latter, maybe that'll work better once the game actually comes out, and I do like some interactive dramas, so maybe it'll be enjoyable, but I feel like after watching the footage in that trailer, I have no idea what it was trying to do. And then we got into Senua Saga Hellblade 2. Now, honestly, this part of the showcase just felt like a troll to me, because they didn't show any new footage of the game, be it pre-rendered CGI or gameplay. All they did was mention that the game will be set in Iceland and that they would have a developer showcase video of them in Iceland. It almost felt like they were like, hey guys, are you excited for Hellblade 2? Cool! Here's some footage of us in Iceland preparing for the game because we have nothing else to show. If nothing else, I think it's cool that they did all that advanced scouting for the game to make sure the setting and design was so solid, but it just sucks that they didn't even try to show anything we hadn't seen for the game. Though after that, we got into Psychonauts 2, which was easily one of the biggest highlights of the show for me. Again, I didn't totally love the first Psychonauts game, but the aesthetics for this game just looked awesome. It looks trippy as hell, but still really fun. They threw in some gameplay in this demonstration. It looks like it'll be way more fun than the first one was. I also couldn't help but love the Jack Black casting for the game too. I'm definitely interested in trying out Psychonauts 2. It looks like it'll be a standout platformer. Again though, I'll probably just play it on PlayStation 4 though, given that it seems it's still coming out for that. Then they got into Destiny 2, which wasn't all that much. It was just to let us know that Destiny 2 was coming to the Series X and to Xbox Game Pass alongside all of the current expansions for it. They also showed the new Destiny 2 Beyond Light expansion, which honestly, both Destiny games kind of bored me, so this stuff was nothing all that interesting for me. Stalker 2, while that was definitely a decent surprise given that I haven't heard the name Stalker in a really long time. Do I have to say it again? All CGI, no gameplay makes Xbox a dull console. Then they showed Warhammer 40k Darktide, which I guess I'll say it again, even if this series is popular, and I'm sure the game will be good for the fans, it's yet another pre-rendered CGI with no gameplay reveal that just made me think I was watching another movie preview. I'd really like to see how these games that Xbox revealed to us are actually going to play. Tetris Effect Connected, had no idea this was an expansion to a previously released game. I thought it was an all-new game, but regardless, it's Tetris. I feel like anytime a new Tetris game gets announced, that's all I can say about it. It's Tetris. course. You guys know how this works at this point. Then there was the Gunk, which, goofy name aside, I actually liked what I saw out of this. There was a bit of gameplay, even if it was hard to tell at points what was and was not gameplay, but the world of the game looked dark yet still whimsical, and I think it had the potential to be a low-key fun game. Again, it's not totally selling me on the Series X since it's going to be on Xbox One, but regardless, it might be a game worth picking up in the future. Then there was The Medium, new horror title from Bloober Team, who made the recent Blair Witch game. Apparently this was originally going to be on the Xbox 360, PS3, and Wii U, but it just now resurfaced as a Series X and PC game, and I'm honestly intrigued by it. Again, I don't know how much of that trailer was gameplay, but the whole dual reality idea that it has going on could be really great if it's done right. That's a genuinely interesting concept that could make the game really fascinating, and given that it's not coming to Xbox One, if all goes right with the game, this could be one of the titles that sells me on the Series X. Then there was new Genesis Phantasy Star Online 2, which seems to just be an expansion to Phantasy Star Online 2. I know it was a big deal when this game finally came over to America after well over 8 years. I don't think it's a game that I would personally play, but it does look good, and I think this expansion will appeal well to the fans of the game that do play it. Crossfire X campaign, I can't say I had any idea what Crossfire X was before last year's E3, and I also had no idea it was as popular as it was. I didn't even know the game had a campaign, but supposedly now it does. It looks cool and fast-paced, even if it doesn't look like it stands out among some of the other FPS games that I've played. It could be worth a try though. Nothing I'm hyping up too much, but it does look pretty cool. After that, Xbox's Matt Booty, funny name, made a few miscellaneous announcements saying that they had 10 world premieres and 22 console launch exclusives. Someone cross-check, is that more than Sony? And he mentioned that everything shown during this presentation would be playable through the Xbox Game Pass, which, if nothing else, I do think that's an interesting idea, and given that the company seems more interested in growing the Xbox infrastructure, I do think that having such a vast library of Xbox games for that cheap of a price is quite the business move for the company. Even if I'm not sold on the new console, I do respect Microsoft for their focus on trying to grow Xbox as a brand through Game Pass, and I think that affordability will keep the Xbox popular even if the Series X doesn't take off. It was also mentioned that games like Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, and Sea of Thieves will get free next-gen updated versions for the Series X, which, sure, that's cool, but given that it's the most powerful console on the planet, supposedly, shouldn't all of their games be upgraded? I'm just kind of wondering why they have to market those games specifically, but hey, hopefully they're not the only ones. And then the last announcement was Fable, which was definitely a surprise. For months, I had been hearing that Playground Games, the makers of the Forza Horizon series, would be making a new Fable game, and I wasn't really sure I believed them, but that reveal surely shut me up. As it is though, I'm not 100% sure what to expect of the game. The pre-rendered CGI looks pretty, but for one, there was no actual gameplay, of course. Two, I've never actually played a Fable game, so I don't know what they're like. And three, I've heard conflicting reports about whether this new game is Fable 4 or a reboot of the franchise. So while I'm not sure what it is, it's definitely interesting, and I'm happy for the Fable fans that it's finally happening. And while I'd like to see more, I know a lot of people were asking for a new Fable game for a while, so if nothing else, this is definitely a win for the gamers. In terms of noteworthy snubs or things that I may have expected to see that I didn't, there was no sign of Battletoads, which I was kind of sad about because I am kind of looking forward to that game. No news of Microsoft Flight Simulator, not that I was particularly hyping that, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it was there. No news of Age of Empires 4 or Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition for that matter. And much like the PlayStation 5 reveal, this showcase came and went without any kind of price or release date reveal for the Series X as a console. So overall, Xbox's showcase was pretty underwhelming, even though I didn't have super high expectations going into it. A few of the games look pretty good, but even though Xbox has been going out of their way and buying a lot of studios to turn into first parties, to me, I just never have felt like they've had the exclusive game muscle that Sony and Nintendo have. So it feels like they didn't create enough excitement in my eyes. The games themselves don't really look bad per se, but again, the showcase as a whole was bogged down by the over-reliance on pre-rendered CGI. For much of the show, I forgot I was watching a gaming showcase because of how little gameplay there was. I thought I was watching a Ubisoft showcase, and quite frankly, that Ubisoft Forward event from a few weeks ago probably had more gameplay than this, and the main show was about 10 minutes shorter than this. As for the Series X itself, I'm just not sold on it because I don't think Xbox is really trying to sell me on it. For the most part, all the games I was looking forward to during the show will be on the Xbox One, and given that the power difference between the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X doesn't seem like it'll be a Wii U versus Switch kind of thing, it's not like I'll need to upgrade to the new console to play some of these games, I think, at least since Microsoft has been giving some mixed signals in terms of exclusives. And it's been said a lot, but Xbox seems like they just don't care to sell you on their new platform. At this point in time, the company is more focused on growing Xbox as a brand to the point where the console you play on is irrelevant. If you are playing their games, that's all that matters. And while that's a respectable approach, it can read as a fancy way of saying, we have no compelling reason for you to buy this console. So as it is, Xbox did show me a few games I might be interested in, but not nearly enough of them, nor nearly enough gameplay of them. And while their approach with Game Pass is sure to be great, and Xbox is sure to have plenty of success in terms of branding, I just don't think I'm super excited for the new console itself. And it seems the showcase just confirmed to me that if given a choice between the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, I personally would go with the PS5 for its exciting upcoming exclusives. Maybe the Series X will have a place in my gaming setup in the future, but as it is, I don't expect that to happen anywhere close to launch. Once again, I would say my highlights from the conference were Halo Infinite, Psychonauts 2, the Gunk, the Medium, and Fable. And my lowlights would be As Dusk Falls, Destiny 2, Microsoft's mixed signals on exclusivity, no Battletoads, and no price or release date. Now, when I review things like this, like game showcases, Nintendo Direct, State of Play, E3, whatever, I won't be going with my usual rating scale of excellent, good, okay, bad, or awful, because when I used to review these on my own on my personal Facebook account, I used to give these conferences letter grades, and I'm gonna do that when I review things like this in the future. Of course, my scale will be A, B, C, D, and F, and I will have plus or minus with B, C, and D. Just not A or F. There's not gonna be an A plus or A minus, or an F plus or F minus. If something gets an A, it's an A. If something gets an F, it's an F. So overall, on that grading scale, I would say that Xbox's game showcase is gonna get a C minus from me. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it just wasn't all that exciting, and I can't say it's exactly selling me on the Xbox Series X. But that's just my opinion on the game showcase. What did you guys think about it? Did you love it more than I did? Were you as disappointed as I am? Were you indifferent to the whole thing? Are you sold on the Series X, or are you more interested in the PS5? Or do you not want either console? And what games that Xbox showed off were you most excited for? Whatever your thoughts are, leave them down in the comments. Let's keep this civil and have some fun as we like to do. If you guys want to hit like and subscribe, thank you. If not, it's no big deal. I won't beg you for it. And what kind of gaming discussions would you like to see in the future? What kind of topics would you like for me to tackle in this segment? Outside of the obvious in terms of reviewing different conferences and live streams and etc., what are some other topics that you would like for me to talk about? Once again, you can leave all your thoughts down in the comment section below, but until next time, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.